It's Positively Muskegon. Andy O'Reilly down today at Mediation and Restorative Services in Muskegon. It's right down next to the United Way. I've got Sarah De La Rosa over here and Kate Kestelou Scarborough.
Correct.
Did I do it?
You did it.
Speak up good and loud. The mic's good.
Yes.
It's not great. You know, we're working on a budget here. But you guys Sarah invited me down to talk a little bit about this mediation training that's coming up. Is Muskegon the kind of town that likes to get in a fight?
Well, there's conflict everywhere.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
We're here as an organization to kind of help resolve conflict in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
And so not many people know about us, but what we do is really volunteer-based, and so that's what I wanted to talk to you about is our training that we have coming up where we're recruiting new mediators that are volunteers.
Talk about this mediator program. What does it take to be a mediator?
I think what it takes most is really a desire to help people.
Yeah.
That is, we can train and support people with all the other parts,
Yep.
but that desire to contribute to your community, that desire to step into conflict and help people resolve it, when most people want to step back from that and avoid it, that's something that we can't instill in people.
Right.
So the mediation training is 40 hours.
It's
of
a long
training.
week.
It's a very, very full week. There are only 12 certified trainers in the state of Michigan.
Really?
Yeah. So the gentleman who's doing our training is an MSU Law School professor, and he provides the 40 hours of training, and it's not just blah 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 blah. Right. It also is the action. So we get to practice, we get a sense of how it goes, and at the end of that 40 hours, I mean, we've both taken this training. Your brain is really full, and then you walk out. And then your 10 hours of internship begins.
Yep.
And that's really what happens, where you sit with seasoned mediators, you observe them doing actual mediations, and then eventually you sit with them to do the mediations so that you learn how to do it and are able to help people. And then we always have partners doing the mediation so
Sure.
that you're never on your own, you're not a judge, you're not making a decision for somebody.
Sarah, talk about some of the subjects that get covered in this training. What are some of the things that people wouldn't expect that they'd have to know to be a mediator?
So this specific training is a general civil training, which means that it doesn't cover the domestic relations portions. Domestic would be like a divorce, a parenting time case, anything that's got family law and things like that. This is a separate training where it's going to cover maybe neighborhood disputes, maybe a business dispute, things that are going on that don't have that domestic piece to it. So they're really going to go over the process of mediation, how you start the process. What do you do when something comes up that you didn't expect, or maybe when, in conflict tempers rise, and how do you de-escalate that and make sure that the process is being done appropriately and they're able to get back to the idea of resolving that conflict. So it really goes over a lot of that. It's actually just a really specific process that they follow. They begin the session, they develop an agenda, they generate options, they go through that whole process, and at the end they may reach an agreement, so they'll go over agreement writing, and if they don't reach an agreement, they will go over how do you send them on to the next step. So it's really interactive. After the first few days, you're going to be doing role plays and really getting into figuring out how you're going to fit in that mediator role.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hard for people to do? I mean, or is it? I mean, sure, the training is there.
Mm-hmm.
Are there people that think this is a good idea and then they find out that they can't because they attach themselves to the
Outcome?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens. But I think what most people find is that it makes a difference for them in the way they learn how to listen.
Sure.
We talk about the skill of mediation, and initially you think it's what you're going to say to people. But really, the skill of mediation is that very attentive listening and understanding what is underneath and helping to gently rise that to the surface so that the primary issue gets resolved. And I think the thing that is most challenging for all of us, all the time, is to ask a question in such a way that the answer is open-ended. You're really good at that. You do it for a living, right?
But I've done an interview or two.
Yeah, but lots of people don't have that they don't find that comes easily to them.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest challenge.
Everybody's looking for a yes or a no or something along that line.
Or they
whereas-
have an idea of where they want to go,
Right.
or where they think might be helpful for them to go.
Right. Is there a cost involved in getting people down here to take this training?
There's a cost to us, but there's not a cost to the participants.
So they come down, they participate in this thing, and then I think I read that you know, you'll do your internship after the 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
After that point, you do the internship and all that, and after that, it's a volunteer basis.
Right.
Is it a term volunteer thing? Do you have to volunteer for a year? Do you have to volunteer for 2 years? That type thing. Because I mean, let's be honest. This is some pretty valuable training they're getting,
Right.
and there should be some kind of time limit. You can't just mediate one case and then be gone.
Right.
You can?
No.
Well, that's not our goal.
No.
And so has it happened in the past? We won't say it hasn't, but we really want people to value the training. It is a valuable training that they'll get. It is, you know, an expensive training, and some centers do charge people to take it. But
Sure.
we want to invest in our volunteers and make sure that they're getting a quality training and they feel committed to us. And so we do ask that people become a volunteer, and there's no, you know, formula or time frame that's required. We do ask that they volunteer for a year, but it doesn't have to be every week or every month. And what we really do is work with our volunteers to figure out when they're available, and they have the option of, you know, what works for them. Every week I send out a list of what we have open in terms of needing 2 mediators, and if something meets their availability, they contact me, and we schedule that way, where they are really the ones picking and choosing when they come in and commit to volunteer.
You mentioned early on that a lot of people don't know about you.
Yes.
Well, here's your chance.
Okay.
Let's talk about mediation and restorative services and what you guys do here. This training is a great thing, and it's pretty cool. What are some of the other things that go on here?
So the other part of our name is restorative services, and so that really comes from our history as a restorative justice center.
Sure.
In about 2000, late 1999, we became involved with restorative justice, which is different than the retributive justice system, which is just a fancy way to say the court criminal system.
Yeah.
Right? So restorative justice looks at being accountable for the harm that you cause, being accountable to the person to whom you caused the harm, hearing from them how they'd like their harm repaired.
Yep.
And if you're able to do that, you do that to the best of your ability. And I think the thing that is really amazing about the concept is what your mom and your dad did for you, which is say, so the next time this happens again, because it will,
Yep.
what do you need so you make a different and a better decision
Yep.
going forward?
Yep.
So our history really came, Brian Mattson was a juvenile court officer, and we grew up with the juvenile court. So that has been our focus, on working with youth who were having their very first contact with the law. So kids minor in possession of alcohol, curfew violation, shoplifting, those kinds of crimes, but also fighting destruction of property, those kinds of things that hurt people and hurt communities.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Last summer, I shot my neighbor's cottage by accident.
Okay.
And we could have used you had we
Yeah.
not resolved things, right?
Right.
That would have been
Right.
great.
Apparently, also dog
Long
poop.
story. We'll tell you some other
Yeah.
time.
Also dog poop. Dog poop seems to be a significant issue.
Yeah. Neighbors, I mean, if you're living next to someone and they're doing something that bothers you every single day,
Yeah.
you know, it can escalate to a point where you have people getting restraining orders or personal protection orders. And, you know, we are here to prevent that from happening. Maybe call us before something escalates to that point and try to resolve it, you know, in any way. But we also can conduct after that point, and just trying to make sure that people are learning how to speak to one another and really get their point across and be heard.
Yeah. I see it every day.
Mhm.
I'm on the city council in Roosevelt Park, and you know what? I think you guys should be at every meeting we have.
Okay.
You know?
Call me.
All right, you two, go with them. You two, go with them. We'll get this figured out. We'll settle things down in the park.
Yeah.
We got your web link on the page. We've got this link to the sign up and everything. So hopefully you'll get some new people in here that really want to help and be a part
Right.
of
And that'd be
going
great.
forward. And you know, I like the restorative thing too, because it's no secret I'm a recovering alcoholic, and a part of that is willing to make amends.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't figure out how to make amends with somebody, there you have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah, And Kate, down here at Restorative Services, Mediation and Restorative
Yes.
Services.
Mediation and
That's us.
Restorative Services.
All the links are here on Positively Muskegon. Thanks for the work you guys do. It's nice to
Thank
have you
you.
down. It's
Thanks
nice
for
to help you
coming
get the
down.
word out, and we can help out again. Let us know.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so
Kate,
much.
Sarah, Mediation and Restorative Services of Muskegon. Make sure you look up all the details right here on Positively Muskegon.